Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Actualized podcast. I'm here with Marc JB in the house, in his house actually. He's invited me to do a podcast interview thing together. So,
Peter, thank you very much. It's lovely to see you again.
of course, it was lovely to meet you, always.
Yeah.
So to begin with, where does your story start with? Where would you like to begin your story?
Well, there's so much to talk about. You could talk about life and death, you could talk about angels, you could talk about ascension, you could talk about Christ consciousness, you could talk about just about everything. You could talk about source of consciousness, and I'm sure that we'll touch on several of these subjects as we go through. That's just to get some tantalizing bullet points across for you guys. But I suppose talking about where it all began would probably be the safest place to start off.
Yeah. So where did it all begin?
It was back in the late 80s. My aunt used to go out to India, and she was at Sai Baba's ashram. She was actually psychic, and she ran meditation groups and did loads of readings for people. And she would come back with Sai Baba's vibhuti and all of these mantras and stuff, and we all thought she was mad. She would. I remember sitting around the Christmas table, and she would be telling us about all these crazy things that she saw and how Sai Baba manifested her spiritual partner an emerald ring and all this, and we just thought she was crazy. And I remember I was 14 years old, and I was at a Chinese restaurant, and she was telling us about Kundalini, and we were like, yeah, right, whatever, as we're chowing down for our monosodium glutamate dishes. And she said, well, I can demonstrate to you. So being the naive and foolhardy 14-year-old I was, she demonstrated Shaktipat on me, because they were given permission to do Shaktipat. And June and Desmond, her spiritual partner.
What is Shaktipat?
Shaktipat is using the will to awaken the Kundalini.
Right.
So
where they use it upon you, or
yeah. So
right.
people will come to them, and they'll put a thumb on the third eye and another on the top of the head, and that activate Shaktipat. And they actually gave me permission to do Shaktipat.
Wow.
After working with them for a while. So she said, oh, this is Kundalini thing. She didn't tell me all the small print about it. And she said, yeah, come on everybody, let's see if Marc's Kundalini will come up. So in the middle of a Chinese restaurant, she activates my Kundalini, and I'm like, I fall off my seat, and then I sit there dribbling into my dinner for the rest of the night. I was like oh my goodness, I was gone, absolutely gone. So that was at 14.
Wow.
And I think I was pretty, a little bit spoiled kid, and quite obnoxious and a little bit arrogant. So it was only until my early 20s when I said to my aunt that I'd love to come on her meditation retreats, because they were doing week-long meditation retreats. They were given permission to set up an ashram by the gurus in India. So they had an ashram called the Kundalini Foundation for Self-Realization.
Right.
And I went there, and I just remember walking in and just thinking, who are all these people? And after a week, I was completely changed. And I went on 4 of those, and everything started to open up with all the mantras and opening up the third eye and the crown chakra, and opening up the energy system, and also access to other dimensions of consciousness.
Right. So what have you since then done with other dimensions of consciousness?
Well, I kind of put that on pause for a bit, having kids, and then for the last 10 years so I've been on a really hardcore journey, like seeing how far I can go, and there's been so many breakthroughs in that time, and so many realizations, and so many deaths, like ego deaths. The most recent ego death was actually a material death, whereas imagine like your relative dies, and you go around your house and you go, I can't deal with all this stuff. So you just get a skip and you throw everything in it, because it's just too much. Everybody's cluttering their life. I did the same for myself. I got a 6-ton skip and I put everything in it.
Minimalised.
Yeah, I went through my house and everything that was practical and used, I kept that, and I threw everything else away. Anything that had an emotional attachment to it included. Like, oh, here's the cup my dad gave me just before he died. Gone. Here are the wedding cutlery, the crockery that my grandparents had. Gone. Everything went. So actually, I found out yesterday. I spoke to my friend Mo, and he said he's from Nigeria. And he's telling me that he goes past my house every morning and he collects all the stuff I put outside. He said, "Do you know what, Mark? I've sent it all to Africa." So I cleared out my house, and I've now Africa's got all my stuff. It's bloody brilliant. Love it. Yeah. So lots of ego deaths, and I found that's just freed me up energetically. And the most recent thing is finding my source consciousness. Actually find out where my consciousness comes from and the dimensions that it kind of gets transformed into until it gets here. So since finding that, I feel like I've kind of finished searching and finished looking, and there's really nothing more that I want to read. There's nothing really more that I want to do. I'm there. I've finished. So now all I'm doing is just living my life and not forcing anything, but just offering myself as in a service capacity and seeing what happens. And I know something huge is coming. And also practicing a lot of magic and alchemy, lots of sacred sexual magic, lots of alchemy, doing a lot of healing work.
So what are some notable breakthroughs and like the journey you've gone through with different breakthroughs? The body really needs to be cleared out energetically.
There's many different ways of seeing your body and energy systems, but I just think you've got your physical body, and then you've got your energetic body, and there's different energetic bodies. Your emotions have an energy, so that makes an emotional body. Your mind, which is part in your body, and it's also in spirit, that has an energy. So you have the mind body, like the mental body, and then you have your higher self body, which is entirely spirit, and then as a part of that, a kernel of that, which gets locked down to linear time, which is the soul. So I see you have all these energy systems, and it's just clearing them all out. But the most important one to clear out is your third dimensional physical body, because with all stored trauma inside your body, it just disrupts the energy flow and creates disharmony. And when you get rid of all of this, you then become an antenna that picks up the finest, most subtle energy consciousness. And that enables you to be able to feel into situations.
And how does one begin to clear their physical body? Does this just involve diet, or is it also emotional release?
Well, not by being serious about anything. It's about having a general intention of I would like to live a life that enables me to shed all of these emotional traumas, all these blockages, and then amazingly life will take you in the direction that you need to go. So everyone's journey is different, and as soon as you just surrender to I have this beautiful intention of wanting to clear out everything, then things will come into your path which enable you to shed the next layer. So for me, things have been like doing psychotherapy. I haven't actually been going to a psychotherapist, but I've been doing self-psychotherapy using NLP techniques. Like for example, when you get triggered and you get all fired up about something, you get angry, you get upset, frustrated, you feel intolerant about the situation, someone annoys you, pisses you off, everyone is basically a mirror for you. Everybody else's shit, that's their shit. my shit is my shit. First thing you've got to do is own your shit. Is know that everybody else's shit is theirs, your shit is your shit. So when you get triggered, you know it's not the other person, it's not the situation, it's not their fault. They're on their own journey, they're going through their own things. It's actually something that has resonated in you. And if you're triggered, it means that you have a traumatic complex or a limiting program, shadow inside you, and then you can start chasing it. So you think, okay, how does this feel? And you can actually start by feeling into the emotion of it, and then going through back in time and feeling, where have I felt this before? Oh yeah, it was here. But then where did I feel that before? And you can start following it back through time until you might just be lucky enough to find the source of it, or you can generally trace it to an area in life. And as you start shedding all these things and you start being more tolerant and accepting to people's situations, then these things can easily be undone, because you can just forgive, because you understand everyone's on their own journey, they're going through their own stuff, you can just let them get on with their own journey. Another one was codependency. So I used to be in many different relationships, and I was always looking for the same thing, someone to fix. My father was like that. I was just literally following his programming.
Yeah.
And I went through a whole journey of learning how to be sovereign, and my shit is my shit, their shit is their shit. No one needs fixing. No one needs fixing. If people come up and ask for help, that's one thing. I'm more than happy to help, but not judging people, not trying to fix people, that leaves you sovereign and stops making you have energetic attachments, being tied up in other people's emotional trauma. So that's another one, is being sovereign. I did some deep body work with some Tantra de-armoring, which was incredible, and I really recommend that to people, where you get a very deep all over body massage. Now this is really interesting, because the genitals hold most of the trauma. When you're going through adolescence, when you're a small child, you are going through so many situations where you don't understand, and the genitals are holding a lot of that trauma. And when we go for a lovely massage, it's completely inappropriate to touch the genitals. We don't even touch our own genitals. Most men don't feel their testicles in order to check they're okay. Most men don't check their just don't check down there. I know a lot of women have the same thing as well. Just generally, the human race doesn't really
have a relationship with that.
Yeah, have a relationship with their genitals. And this is so important, because it's the seat of our power. It's where we connect to the earth, and it's where we get our grounding from. And without grounding, we're just floating about, and we can't do anything definitively. There's no power behind what we do. Yeah. When you're truly and utterly grounded, you really ground everything energetically down into your purpose in life, and that's the gateway. So doing a lot of healing there is really important. So I went for a tantric disarming, and I didn't really understand anything about this beforehand. It's an all over body massage, including the genitals. It's very deep and hurts, and I had to break through so many taboos, my own taboos. Yeah. But as I was going through this, I found myself surrounded by angels. With my inner sight, I could see angels around me, and they were holding the space. And after that, I felt a deep release and started to connect much deeper into other dimensions of being.
Wow. What you spoke about before the sexual thing is that you had inherited your father's conditioning, let's say, and then you learnt to go through that and then to reclaim your own sovereignty. My understanding of the situation on our planet is that children come in and they inherit the trauma of the past generations, and each child is another opportunity for that trauma lineage to be healed, so that or a part of it to be healed, so that evolution can take place and that humanity can be healed. And it's beautiful to see that that's literally what you're doing. You're doing the work, and that's thank you from the planet.
Well, I really am so grateful to so many people who have taught me. One amazing experience I had was with Vladimira, the Siberian shaman. And before that, I didn't have any family photos about. They used to be under beds gathering dust, right? And we went for this ancestral clearing, and I was like, whatever, ancestral clearing. And we did this amazing ceremony, which has come down through the Siberian shamanic lineage, which is 40,000 years old.
Wow.
And they're transmitting that here. And essentially what happened is we did this ceremony where we are healing seven generations back of trauma. So you think you've got all that trauma coming, all the conditioning, the patterning, the limiting beliefs, the limiting values and ethics, all coming down through all your relations, your mum, your dad, your grandparents, your great grandparents, or your foster parents, or however you've been brought into the world. It's all coming down towards you, and
society, the culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just propagating. But when you think about it, they're all, they're gone. They're gone. They're not here anymore. I mean, my father's gone. My mum's still around. And I think of it kind of like this: is that it all comes into you here as a point, all of this trauma and conditioning, and then it comes back out of with your deeds and your actions and your thoughts as you propagate your energy and doing on the planet. So you really are at the epicenter of the change now in the present moment. And you can just carry on your merry way with holding all of this. But why not just empty yourself out, get rid of it all? So we did this beautiful ceremony which involved burning matches, which was this beautiful energy metaphor for clearing the family lineage. And the most magical thing happened. When I came back home, I got all the photos out, I put them on bookshelves, lit some candles, and now I've got a place where I honour all of my ancestors.
Wow.
Huge shift.
Your relationship, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they're my power. Instead of being the codependent generosity rescuing thing that my father had, which was just kind and sincere and beautiful. He helped so many people, but it was a codependent thing. Instead of seeing that, I now see his power as an entrepreneur and charming and graceful man, an eloquent and elegant man. All I see now is all the power and skills that have been passed down to me from my family line.
Beautiful. And you talked about sexual de-armoring. This is something I've been very interested in, and sexual alchemy. What's your perspective on ejaculation and recirculating upwards sexual energy rather than expelling it?
Do it or die early. I've read a lot on the Taoist material. This is very interesting. Chinese medicine, spirituality is like it's like a science.
Yeah.
No, it is a science. It's a science of the body and the energy
and the channels
and the energy. Yeah, the energy of human being. And the Western way of looking at medicine is mostly on dealing with the symptoms.
Yeah.
They had a different way of doing it. They had a systematic approach, and they were preventative. And they have 5,000 years to get this right. The Western world, it has a way of evaluating other medicines based upon Western medicine. So Chinese medicine isn't well accepted within the Western medicine establishment because of these closed ideas, this closed way of looking at things. But to give you some examples of why the Chinese medicine system is so interesting, 5,000 years ago, you had all the great emperors. You had the Yellow Emperor. That was thousands of years ago. He had tantric advisors that would advise him how to have a long and healthy life.
Yeah.
And they would look at people and look at the empirical, the evidence of how people were affected by things. For example, when Chinese soldiers were shot with arrows, they noticed that some of the soldiers got healed from certain complaints.
Wow. And
when they started to correlate this data over a period of time, they realised that at certain points where the arrows hit them, their complaints got better. So they developed acupuncture from it.
Oh.
So
that's how acupuncture started.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And they've got some great ideas about diet, which makes so much sense. For example, digesting food. The body likes to digest food one simple way at a time. So if you say have some heavy meat, you need very very strong digestion in your stomach with acid. I'm not claiming to be an expert about this, but it's the essence that inspires me. So I really know not much about anatomy, and I don't profess to be a doctor or anyone like that, but it's the essence of this that I've taken on board, and I found it very useful and powerful in my own life. The meat digests in your stomach with acid. Meanwhile, if you're eating things like bread, it starts with alkaline digestion in your mouth. So if you eat a hot dog, basically you've got the bread's trying to digest in your mouth, the sausage trying to digest in your stomach, the body doesn't know what the hell it's doing, and you end up having putrefying food, rotting, that's not digesting, the body's not getting any nutrients from it, and it's going through your colon, and it's rotting there, it's getting into little folds of your colon, and then it's sending toxins into the blood, which are making your blood more acid. And this is so simple. The guy who got a Nobel Peace Prize, who found that viruses and bacteria do not grow in an alkaline solution, they grow in an acidic solution. So therefore, make your blood alkaline or more alkaline, and you just won't get ill.
Wow. So
the Western world is all geared up to having putrefying meat going through your body. I think there was like 4 pounds of rotting flesh are in most people's stomach. We're not breathing properly because we're all breathing from here, whereas no one's using their diaphragm. So we're not getting proper oxygen. So we're running very, very, the more oxygen you have in your blood, the more alkaline it becomes. The less oxygen you have, there's more carbon dioxide, it becomes more acidic. So we're running very, very acidic systems. And this is why so many people get cancer. And also the other thing is that with emotional trauma is, imagine that you've grieved for a friend or someone, and you feel it here in the pit of your stomach, and as you're grieving you feel this contraction, but they've done something horrible to you, you can't forgive them, and you
hold on to it.
Yeah, maybe you didn't speak to them for 10 years before they died, and then they died, and then they've gone, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now that knot in your stomach, what happens is that everything is like this, everything is like holding on, all the muscle fibers, all the sinews, or the tissue, everything is all clenched up. Yeah. Now, what do you think that if this is obvious to me, when something's clenched up, you can't get blood through there, you can't get lymphatic systems drain through there, you're going to get a stagnant situation, and with an acidic body, you're going to start getting cells dividing, you get cancer, you get illness. Yeah. This is how illness happens. This is how emotional trauma turns into illness.
Blockages, so energy can't move.
This is it. It's so simple. And our whole Western system is designed to make people ill, to keep everybody under control. And things have got to change. They've got to change. There's got to be a huge wake up to how people view their bodies, how people can get past all of the trauma of society, of their ancestors. I've got past all of it now. At least I feel I've got past it. You know, things keep on coming up, but I feel I'm completely clear. I feel like I'm on the other side now. And if something big's waiting for me, I welcome it. Bring it on. I'm ready to shed the next layer. But we are screwed. Like, as humanity, we're totally and utterly screwed. We're holding on to all of this trauma from our ancestors, from society, all the shame. Our bodies are all clenched up. We're not processing food properly. We're eating like shit. We're not breathing properly. We're having like shitty thought patterns. You know, it's really bad. And everybody, it's so simple and straightforward to be able to clear it all out. Everything. Clear the whole bloody thing out. And be living, and what happens is when you clear it all out, then joy comes. Joy! Absolute joy and wonder like a kid. You know, ridiculous wonder like being a child.
Because you're clear of all that.
Yeah.
Heaviness.
It's brilliant. You get joy, you get wonder, you just like happiness. And it's not happiness from going out and buying a chocolate bar and spiking your sugar. This is just like happiness when you wake up, or happiness when you open up a letter and see there's a huge tax bill like I got just before Christmas. And I'm like, oh, I've got a huge tax bill and I don't have any money to pay it. But I was just checking in and I was just told to trust. And I was kind of like joyful and happy about it, even though it was like a test, you know. How happy is Mark going to be with a huge tax bill? I was like, okay, I've had a really successful year. I've got a really big tax bill. I'm successful and something will come up. And amazingly, it did. Like 2 days before the tax bill was due to be paid, the day beforehand, I had no money in my bank account, and I phoned up my accountant. He said, I'm really sorry, I forgot there was a calculation that didn't happen from last year, and actually your tax bill's only a fifth of what I said it would be. You just gotta trust. You just gotta trust. And what's the worst that can happen? So I've got a lovely life, I've got a lovely house, got a camper van, I've got a great job, I'm satisfied with everything. If I lost everything, well, you know, I'm going to be happy with anything.
Yeah.
I'll be happy living in a static caravan on land sea. I'll be happy anywhere. Really, I've got nothing to lose.
Some people are saying that things used to be good and that the world is almost going to shit now. Youngsters are all using drugs, things are going bad. But I think that in the past there was a lot of having to survive, and there wasn't any space in a person's life to deal with this trauma that we're carrying. And more most people on the planet are currently comfortable and safe and secure in a way where, like, physically, so that there is more space to deal with these things. And that is actually why youngsters are sort of turning to drugs, because this trauma is actually ready to be healed. It's ready to come up, and they're trying to deal with this in some way. But obviously, that drugs are not necessarily the right way. Although there are some useful drugs, but non-therapeutic uses of cocaine and different things can be bad. How do you see the youth issue or drugs and things like this?
Well, I think it comes down to this, is that change is scary as shit. Change is scary as shit. You're born into a family, you're born into a society, and there's such a rock solid framework in which it's appropriate to live within. You know, the walls of you know, decent society living are very rigid, and to be able to see enough the other side of what's there to give you the impetus to move through that is really difficult. My kids are at school, and school is like the worst place. The education system is shit. It's absolutely shit. It really is. I mean, there are some good things, granted, like the kids do learn some really useful things. They do learn some really useful things. And also it gives their parents a bit of time off. But the kids they're force-fed information. Things are changing a bit. Things are changing a bit in schools. This is great. But they're force-fed information, facts, and they're not really taught in the mainstream of schools about ethics, living life, being a good, responsible citizen, about how to bring joy into the world, how to get joy for yourself in life, how to have a successful life, how to live your life purpose. Okay, I go to school, my first class is on life purpose, my second class is on good society living, my third class is on nutrition, my fourth class is on maths and English, and then science. You know, now we're talking like a good education system.
Yeah.
And there's still this collective construct in schools that propagates all the way down through the generations. So all the kids are together, they like the same music, the same sport, they like clique together, and then there's like a big group of kids. And if you're not part of that group, you're on the outside, and it's not nice to be there because you get bullied, you get sidelined, you get lonely. When my kids went to school, the one thing that I taught them was discretion, because I tell them a lot of things here about spiritual matters, about living a successful life. And if they were to have conversations with people who don't understand at school or anywhere, they would get negative energy back from the other person. And whilst they are growing and their minds are such fertile beds of imagination, this is the important thing, imagination, it gets shot down, it gets squashed by all the other kids at school. And you see them in groups, their imagination is squashed. The parents have no imagination because their parents had no imagination. It's all been beaten out of them by relentless drive to fit into the framework of society and be acceptable, be normal. So I've taught my kids the art of discretion, to only talk to the people that they know that are going to resonate with their ideas, and they've managed to keep their imagination. So I think this is a really important survival tool for kids. So if you're listening to this and you've got young children and they're about to go to nursery, etc., you can see they've got great imagination. I was on the DLR once, the Doctor's Art Railway, and there was this Indian lady and her kid, and she looked so unhappy. She just looked like life had been so cruel to her. Her little kid, who was about 4 years old, was just running around going, "Look, mummy, look." Just so much wonder and amazement. And then this poor woman, she was just so downbeaten and downtrodden. My heart really it was wrenched it. And I could just see that child would turn into her mother. All that sense of wonder and imagination and beauty. Look, mummy, look, trees, birds, the train, look, people. It would all go. It will go. This is 4 years ago. It's probably gone now for this child. So the most important thing, if you've got young kids, is to help them retain their imagination by teaching them discretion and teaching them just to talk to people that they're going to resonate with and that aren't going to stamp out their imagination.
Yeah, that's very good advice.
And then going on about kids, the world is changing. There's more chaos, but there's more harmony coming on in, because where there's more harmony and there's more wisdom and light coming into the world at the moment, the chaos becomes more magnified, because, as you say, there's more space to be able to deal with the trauma, and that looks like chaos. And in order to jolt people out of their record groove, because everyone's playing the same record, to kick people out of their record groove, you need to have a big jolt. And that's people like Donald Trump, that's people like all the horrendous things going on in the world.
I think Donald Trump is a jolt in himself.
He is. He's actually there's such disharmony in him.
But his place is positive in that way.
It is positive in that way. There's such disharmony in Donald Trump's energy output that it actually gets people so furious that it makes them jump out. I'm going to do something. I don't like what he's doing. And then suddenly they have this break where they have some distance and they can see, oh, I've been sitting in this groove of society all the time. They've been telling me this, that, and the other. And it's their first impetus to go and do something about their shitty lives. And I don't mean as shitty as, I've been and had a shitty life, yeah? We've all had shitty lives. I don't have a shitty life anymore. And I'm just purely saying that so many people are having shitty lives and it's not necessary. No. You don't need to have a shitty life. No. You don't need to have a shitty life at all.
It's our choice.
It's your choice, yeah. So there's so many kids being born into the world now that are that have so much knowledge and are so full of wisdom and light, yeah. And by that I mean that they're strong. No one can tell them what to do. They reject the framework of society because they can just see how pointless and futile it is, and they're going to do their own thing. And to society, to parents with kids like this, it's going to be really frustrating because for them it's going against everything they know. And like, why is my child different? Why won't they go and join in with groups? And so often this gets labelled as autism, but it's actually not autism. It's children being their own way, not interfacing with the school system, and they have traits. They have traits like dyslexia, dyspraxia, all these. They don't get on with like the big social groups. They have their own kind of like life in the corner. You know, these are like new kids coming in, and I've met so many of these children, and they're amazing. And some are fortunate enough to be born into families who understand them, and are giving them the space in order to flourish, let their imaginations be sacrosanct. And these kids, they're dangerous. They are dangerous. They're going to be going into huge positions of responsibility. They're tomorrow's politicians, teachers, CEOs of corporations. I've got one of mine is going to go into, I just know he's hardcore, yeah? He takes no shit. Like, he'll have a huge tantrum if things are just not right, like if they're unjust, like unfair for other people. He will climb his way to the top of the CEO spot, and he'll get up there and he'll make changes. There's so many different children coming in with different talents, but they're game changers, Peter, aren't they?
Yes.
Game changers. But so many of the kids are in negative families and they're having to anchor the trauma of the human race at the moment, because we have so much trauma.
Indeed.
We have the wounded masculine, the wounded feminine, the wounded humanity. We have the whole shebang, you know.
The whole thing.
And they are being born into the most horriblest situations, in war zones, in abusing families,
difficult positions,
horrendous, like being abandoned, really, really difficult. But these are like the brave ones, you know. These are the brave souls coming down, because they will do the really hard work.
Yes.
Because what happens is when someone, this is all like magic and alchemy, yeah. And we'll come back to like I hope you ask me about sexual alchemy, because there's loads to talk about sexual alchemy. The kids, when they are powerful enough to overcome the trauma and the abandonment, and they can rise above it energetically, and they see it for what it is, they can then transmit their more pure template into the conscious collective surrounding that trauma. And when they transmit it in, what happens is it literally helps dissolve away the whole thing for the whole of humanity. So they're like seeds. They're like seeds that then grow this beautiful harmonizing energy out into the whole of humanity.
Yeah, the next thing I was going to say is that it's really fortunate that we don't need 8 billion people to change, because collective consciousness means that if a particular number of people change, that doesn't have to be everybody, that like comes down and assists everyone. If 100 people with similar pathways, like overcome those traumas and pathways, it makes it easier for other people with similar situations to go through the same path.
Yeah.
Because like there's an example in England. Remember when we used to have the milk delivered to the door?
Yeah.
The birds, there was a certain species of bird that just a few of them learned that they can peck in and suck out the cream from the top,
Yeah.
which was tasty and full of protein. So then a few more learned it, and then when a certain number had learnt it, the same exact species up in Scotland, overnight, they don't migrate from these two places. Overnight, the whole species in Scotland started doing it, the whole species. So they gradually learned it in one place, and then it completely transmitted, because the collective consciousness of each species is connected, and that's also echoed through Rupert Sheldrake's work in morphogenetic fields. Even when a new type of chemical is crystallized, that chemical or that particular form of crystal has a collective consciousness because it's a species of that molecule. And the way it crystallizes becomes cleaner and more beautiful the more practice that collective consciousness has at crystallizing. So in that way, that continues forward.
Yeah.
So it's fortunate we don't all have to do this necessarily. Like, people will come through, although we do all have to do it in a different way.
I've met some wonderful people doing this work, and that's why it's called light work.
Yeah.
Because they are spreading light through, and I've been journeying through the dimensions of consciousness, and I've spent a lot of time around the Christ conscious area. That's just a name for it, yeah.
Yeah.
It really doesn't have a name. What it is the energy, intelligent energy, which is very, very near the epicenter of all creation, like the void or God or source or whatever you want to call it. And it's intelligent energy that harmonizes. So you channel this energy into any place, situation, then according to free will and divine law, of course, then it will flow into the energy construct, and it will harmonize and balance. That's what Christ consciousness is.
How do you use it? What is Christ consciousness in the sense that, like, is it just our awareness? Because I almost feel that it's kind of just our awareness and giving space to that awareness to almost.
It's an energy. It's actually an energy. It's an energy which has it harmonizes. Yeah. So think of you've got layers of vibration. Yeah, frequency goes down and down and down and down and down. So here, let's just call this the bedrock of humanity, right? So you've got war, torture, rape, abandonment, deep trauma, mutilation. You've got the worst of humanity here. Yeah. Then maybe you've got like joy, bliss, ecstasy, pure love, all the beautiful things of humanity. And so we've got a polarity of humanity, right? And then this is also heaven and hell. Yeah. So heaven and hell already exists on earth. Yeah. I'm living here. I live in heaven. And that was my choice to get here. I've worked really hard to get here. Here is hell. I also feel hell a lot because I feel a lot of the worst of what people can feel. So there's this amazing polarity, and this is our experience of being human. This is the special thing about being human, and we're all trying to find our little journeys going back up. We're all trying to go back up to the love. You've got all the constructs of fear. So down here, this is fear, but it's also disharmony. So where things here are harmony, look like a beautiful crystal, here things are just chaos. So you've got harmony, you've got disharmony, you've got heaven, you've got hell, you've got alignment. Things are in alignment here. You've got synchronicity, things just happen in alignment all the time. You think of someone, they phone you, this kind of thing. Down here you've got complete misalignment. Nothing's going right in life. You're always fighting. Struggling. So you've got the energy constructs which are of disharmony, and say you've got, let's just pick a situation. Say you've got an argument between two people that's been going on for a while, and you've got a lot of disharmony there. There's a lot of pride and shame and anger attached to that. There's an energy construct between these two people. Yeah, they also share their own energy, which is their energy, which they have this, but there's an energy between them. So you can, with Christ's consciousness, it's a conscious, active, harmonizing energy. So you channel it. You all you do is you just ask for it to go into a situation, and it respects free will and it respects divine law. So this is an absolute gift to us on the planet, because it flows into a situation and it starts rearranging all the energy to be more harmonious, and then things start to heal. But here's the thing, is that it can't flow into a situation unless there's space.
No.
So we always think of life, and everyone's scared of death. But in order to have new life, there has to be death.
Of course.
So I'm all about death and destruction. So there has to be space. You have to get rid of things. You have to get rid of your emotional traumas. You have to forgive people. You have to let things go. You have to accept. Acceptance is giving a situation space. And when there's space, that gives room for this energy to flow in. And when it goes in, it flows into the space, and then it starts making its way through all the constructs of the situation, the conscious energy situation, and it starts harmonizing, but it has to have space. So it's all about destruction first. So
an example of that would be if somebody was in having an argument or something, and they had an openness within themselves to resolve the situation, and then flowing Christ consciousness within that space, their free will would choose that option and then harmonize the situation. But if they're completely closed to harmonizing, there's no space for that.
Yeah, say for example, they are having a big feud with a family member, and then they got really super ill. They got cancer, and then they recovered from the cancer, and that gave such a shock to their ego, which is their whole energy construct. Conscious energy construct.
That some of it died.
Yeah, that some of it went. That allows some acceptance to come in, and okay, maybe these things weren't as bad as I originally thought.
Yeah.
And if they're then aware that you can bring in this light, you can send light into the situation, and this harmonizing light is called Christ consciousness. But still, for me, the name Christ consciousness, it is just an energy, because it doesn't belong to the Christian faith. No. It doesn't belong to anybody. It's actually an energy of creation that comes in. We've just labelled it to make it convenient to point it out. Oh, this is Christ consciousness. Yeah. But it's just harmonizing light. You can imagine it as sparkling golden light going into a situation. Right. That's all you need to do. Just imagine sparkling golden light going in, and it respects free will, and it works its way through the situation. I did some work with the political energy in the country, where we worked with old constructs. Imagine you've got politicians arguing for hundreds of years, and they're creating all these constructs, rather like the ancestral lines coming down, all of these negative imprints, limiting programming, and it all exists in today's political. We've basically blasted it according to free will and divine law, and then filled the void with Christ light. It didn't work in that form. We had to do something else, which I'm not going to say, because I think that this information is just for to transmit to a few people who are ready to hear it, rather than everyone playing with this kind of stuff. If you want to know more, come find me. We basically blasted it. We did some other alchemy to the energy, and we also did it in some other places. And we were walking along the road, and I could literally feel the world going like that. And all we have is the present moment. There is no past or future.
No.
There's only the present moment and all the information around us, an infinite array of information that makes up our ever-changing present moment. And I can literally feel the present moment change then, Peter. So it's like, in life, I've got this laser line that goes in front of me, which is my direction. I can see right down there and everything that's in front. But it's like the world went like that, and the laser line is pointing down a different direction. It was amazing. It was such an incredible experience. But that's when we use this Christ consciousness. But if you're, no matter what religion you're from, or even if you're atheist or whatever, this is an energy you can use. Just take the label off it and just know that it's an energy that is your right as a human being to have this as a beautiful tool to be able to create more harmonious life for you.
Is it appropriate to say that when you say visualize the golden sparkling light, that's just one way, and that essentially the way it works is if you believe it's going to work, it does, and if you believe you're utilizing it, you are.
Well, actually, it's even better than that, right? Because we're so full of doubts.
That's literally, yeah.
Is that underneath all of our doubt and our ego and all of this shame and bravado, underneath we know it works.
Yeah.
It's a fact because it's actually one of the the like spiritual scientific variables. It's just, it's like we know that water stays in a glass because of gravity. It's just something that deeper down. So even though you might do it and have a doubt in your head, don't worry. On the other dimensions,
you totally know that
you're totally doing the right work.
Yeah.
Even if you have the doubt, it's fine.
Beautiful.
It's better to not beat yourself up about these things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And when you mentioned that your laser line in the present pointed in a different direction, and then the present was transformed, it made me think back to when you said that when you were transmuting trauma, that you went back in time to investigate where the source of it was. And then I was almost, when you said that, I was thinking, so you would essentially explore the past and then you change the past, and then the present actually has a different past in that.
Yeah, this is something that I've discovered. I haven't read this, even though I'm sure that people have talked about this.
Yeah.
Is that all you have is the present moment, and we have our past memories, which are completely warped anyway, because our brain saw something and then it compressed it. It took selective things. It linked it to other things, and put it into a story. Like the past is not what you thought it was, and then the future doesn't exist yet. All you have is probable futures. Now, we imagine that you've got past and future here, and we're moving along this line, even though there is no time. Okay, so this is how time and space doesn't exist outside here. We're moving along this line like this, but the whole timeline is plastic. So they did these experiments with decaying radioactive matter, which made 200 green or red lights a second, and they got a psychic to look at the light and go, make it more green or make it more red. No, looking at this, and indeed statistically it was verifiable that it did happen. There was a good book, I can't remember the name, but it was in there. But here's the goodie, is that quantum mechanics says that everything exists in a superposition of states until it's observed. So anything from the past in your life that hasn't been looked at yet can be anything, right? So if you haven't opened up the letter which has your exam results in it,
it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist yet, and if you can still change variables around the situation back when you did your exam. For example, you can't affect people's free will, but you can affect all of the context and the environment upon which the free will operates in.
To somebody who's done really bad in their exams and has not yet opened the letter, how could they change the letter?
Okay, do a little meditation, hold the letter in your hands, or maybe even the letter hasn't worked yet, and just think right back to when you were a child and you were learning all of these fantastic things. Now see yourself in a light where you were amazing at learning and that your brain was brilliant at taking all this information and processing it. And then see yourself going through all the lectures and all the wonderful learning going up to the exam and how great you were doing and having a great feeling about it and also feeling really grateful for that. Now go to the exam and see yourself sitting there and see yourself surrounded with beautiful light and everything's going really well. And then just know that things were as good as they could be. And that's basically it. You're changing all the environment at the time. This doesn't necessarily mean you're going to pass your exam, because sometimes you're meant to fail your exam to send you in another direction, so you can learn something or go on another journey. Some things, these things are meant to be, but it will certainly affect it in the right direction.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Should we go into sexual alchemy then?
Oh, let's go into sexual alchemy. Oh, sexual alchemy. This is such an exciting subject, and it's such an exciting practice to do. So boys and girls, how's your sex life? Oh, sexual alchemy is a wonderful project to have in life. So you've got loads of great information coming in from the Taoists. They have some fantastic information. You've got great information coming in from Tantra, and it's if you're looking to start somewhere, go and have a look for an author called Margot Anand. She's got a couple of great books and they really describe things well. Sexual alchemy is a wonderful gift to use to be able to express yourself sexually as a human being. Is one of our wonderful gifts that we have here. It really is. There's so much shame around sex, nudity, that we repress sex so much, and we're so ashamed of our bodies that we don't want to show nakedness to anybody. We don't want to touch ourselves, we don't want to look at our genitals. I mean, how many people looking at this have actually seen their own asshole? Exactly, right? There's so much shame around the body. So much shame. So first, you need to get rid of all of your tensions. Have some massage, work on relationship codependency, stop becoming desperate codependent looking for something that you don't need in life, start accepting. I've got a great relationship. I finally found the one, but it wasn't until I finally accepted that I don't need anybody that I found that I finally got to her. I don't need anyone. I'm happy on my own. I'm sovereign. I'm happy. I don't need anyone at all. The mechanics of sexual alchemy is that you have imagine that your spine is a channel of light, and this extends down to the core of the planet, and it extends up through the dimensions of different vibrations back to source, void, whatever you want to call it. And the earth and the void, or the sky, or the father, or whatever you would like to call it, they meet here in the heart, right? This is the place where we have our life experience, because the whole point of being here is to be able to have this amazing experience on the earth with this particular set of emotions and way of being, so that spirit can undergo a very particular type of experience, so we can create more. So this is the meaning of life, is to create more, and everything we create from love or fear goes to expanding all of creation, and that's what creation wants. It just wants to expand. So imagine that you've got this amazing channel going through you, and it connects the source of all creation right down to the center of this planet, because this is our place of experience. And the center of the planet is kind of like a metaphor for the vibration of matter, You know, it's the center of all matter for our experience here, and this is what we're all about. We're matter. We're actually made of earth. When you think of it, this human body, this is made from earth. These molecules, some of these molecules were potatoes last week, growing in the ground in Devon. Come on, we're made from earth. We're made from earth. And then we have spirit come down and it overrides our nature, the nature spirit, which is in our body, and it overrides it, and that's our experience here. So with sexual alchemy, you're bringing up energy from earth through your chakras, and there's your energy centers, and there's ways of purifying them, expanding them, and you're bringing them up to my own personal technique is to bring them up here to the third eye, and then from that point you can then do manifestation, which is where the sexual alchemy comes in. So all my manifestation is about harmonizing my life situations, bringing in opportunities, healing my body, sending in light into my DNA, into the multi-dimensional multi-dimensions within the DNA. It's all about transmuting. So you're creating your sexual energy, and you can do that on your own with self-pleasure, or you can do that with a partner by having absolutely beautiful, sensual and sensitive lovemaking, and then you bring it up together. I think that really I need to make a couple of videos to demonstrate this. So just having doing some brilliant work, and it's so much fun, so much fun. And you were asking me about ejaculation for men. So I think there's a few things to consider here. Is that in a woman's body, everything is internal, so all juices are secreted internally. Yeah. So all the energy is kept and retained internally. Orgasms, multiple orgasms can be perpetual. Yeah. So women get to keep all of that beautiful sexual energy within their body. This is not so for men. Unfortunately, guys, it's completely different for you. So when we ejaculate, here's what happens: is that you have put all this life force, all of your glands and your body is creating this amazing stuff, this amazing sperm, and there's millions of them in there. Hopefully, there's millions of them there, and
there's enough there actually to create half the population of America in one. That's
incredible.
That's a lot of divine potential.
That is so much divine potential. And when you're ejaculating into a Kleenex, people don't think about this. People don't think about it. There's so much potential in there. I think the Taoists describe it rather like a net, and within that net is so much spiritual life force to create, as you say, half the population of America. That the energy in there is, spiritually speaking, like a few atom bombs. You know, it's massive. So just looking at the body physically, it takes a lot of energy to make the sperm, because it has to be perfect. The sperm has to be perfect. So just one of those sperm can go fertilize an egg and make another life form. Wow, it's really stormy today.
Luckily we're here.
Yeah. So if you're continuously masturbating, ejaculating, you are losing all this life force. And what happens is you start to get varicose veins around the scrotum. You start to lose, basically all the energy is being dumped out of your perineum, because that's where the root chakra is in the man, and it's just being dumped out there. You're losing loads of life force, you're getting big bags under your eyes, your hair's going grey, you're withering, you're aging yourself. Yeah. Because the body has nothing left to heal all the cells, to replenish itself. So when you stop masturbating and ejaculating all the time, the body starts being able to have some space. It goes, oh, I finally have some space. I'm not producing more ejaculate for this masturbator. I finally have some space. I can go and heal the liver, I can heal the kidneys, I can regrow, I can regrow the body. And like, when you think of the body, it's incredible. Everyone's talking about stem cells. When we're going to have stem cells and be able to regrow the body? Will you cut yourself like I cut myself earlier, opening a cupboard? And like, here we are, there's blood. My body's already repaired itself. It's already like knitting itself back together. It's got, this is the life force of the body already repairing itself. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. I had really bad tinnitus from being a DJ and a music producer for years and years. People said, you can't cure that. I cured it. I asked all of the little hairs that had fallen down to just die and wither away and perish, and new ones to grow in their place. I have perfect hearing in its place.
Wow.
Yeah, perfect hearing. You can do anything. You can do anything to your body. What, except for, growing back a leg and a head. Growing back a head. You can, let's say you can do many things with this healing. But sometimes with disease, it's actually your sole purpose and to have the disease and go through these lessons. This is another conversation about life, death, and soul purpose. But going back to sexual alchemy, is that once you start retaining the ejaculate. Now here's really good. This is a really good book. It's called Multi-Orgasmic Man by Mantak Chia and another author. And this is all about training yourself to retain your semen. So you pleasure yourself, and then you kind of go up in pleasure. And normally you would ejaculate and go to sleep for the rest of the day, or like turn over, start snoring. Right. So what happens is it's very simple. You self pleasure, or you do it with a partner as well, and just as you feel like the energy rising just before you're coming up to ejaculating, you stop for half a minute and the energy comes down a bit. And then when you feel like you're safe and you're centered and you're back in control of your energy, you start again. And what happens is, rather than going up and crashing and going to sleep, instead this happens. You go up, you stop, you go up, you stop, and it's infinite. You can carry on climbing up this orgasmic ladder until your entire body is just screaming with orgasm. Every single cell is orgasming. You're orgasming all over the place. It's incredible.
And it's an internal, like the female orgasm.
Yes, you can have. The other day I had 3 orgasms, like amazing orgasms, whilst making love with my partner, without ejaculating. And there's another really good technique which is called the big draw, which is from Taoism. So when you feel like it's all a bit too much and you're going to explode, you clench the muscles around your anus and your perineum, and you like literally squeeze energy up like a toothpaste tube, and you breathe up as well, so like this. But it needs to go somewhere. You can't just all put it in your head, otherwise you'll give yourself one banging headache.
Been there, done that.
Banging headache. It needs to go somewhere. So according to the Taoists, you have an energy channel that comes up the back, top of the head, it comes down here, and then it comes to the palate of the mouth, and it starts there through the tongue, then down here, and then it ends down here into your Tandiem. And Tandiem is a place where you store your spiritual life force according to the Taoists, and it makes sense. Where were you connected and getting your life force from when you were in the womb? At this place. This makes perfect sense. So you push your tongue to the palate of your mouth, and you draw up, and then you breathe out, and you push it all down into your Tandiem. And the good news is, guys, is that you will stay younger for longer. You will be able to carry on having beautiful lovemaking for an indefinite amount of time. Now, if your girlfriend's watching this and you're not in the room, I think you need to go and buy him the Multi-Orgasmic Man and slap him around the head. Right, read this and then come back when you're ready.
It's a good advice as well.
It's good. It's great. And with the sexual alchemy, Alchemy means transformation, so it's transforming shit into gold. Yeah. And like people think lead into gold. The gold is love. Yeah, and love being harmony, love being a more joyful life, a more wondrous life, easier situation, abundance. Yeah, this is gold. This is golden life, abundance, happiness, health, harmony.
That's the most precious thing.
Yeah.
The reason we want more money is to have a better experience.
Yeah.
A better experience is gold.
So one great way of doing this is you sit in, you make beautiful love with your partner. You then sit in Yabyeong, where the man sits cross-legged, the partner sits around him, and this of course works in girl-girl, boy-boy situations as well. You sit together with your partner, let's just say, and with the sexual energy that you've created together, you start breathing from the middle of the earth into your first chakra. Feel it glowing lovely and red and expanding. And then you go and move into your second chakra, orange, and then you're breathing all of it up into your here, that's yellow, then into your heart, together, that's green, and then into your throat, blue, and then here, my personal technique, and any technique is good, whatever works for you, because we all see things differently, our brains are all wired differently, whatever works for you. I imagine gold here, so the energy is expanding here. Together, you put your foreheads together. We're now breathing cosmic energy into the third eye too, and you've created this energy. Brilliant! Now you have several gigatons of energy there. What are you going to do with it? Yeah, you've got all this wonderful sexual earth cosmic energy. What are you going to do with it? It depends what kind of person you are. But if you do anything negative with it, it's going to come back at you like a nuclear explosion. You want to do something positive in alignment with free will and divine law, and then life is going to be so good for you. So personally, I send some of the energy into our bodies. I might imagine going deep into the cells, into the DNA, see it spiraling around like sparkling golden light. I then imagine friends and family around in a circle and send the light out to them for the highest good, if it's for their sole purpose. It's so important to respect free will. Yeah. Because if you don't, you're going to get bitten in the ass, big time. You're going to get a big slap from the universe. So I send healing energy to them if it's for their highest good. And you can do earth healing, you can do nature healing, you can do healing into the political system, the financial system, the media, educational system, all of these things. From having sex. Yeah! Everyone wins. Everybody wins. And it's so much fun. As a man, you start becoming multi-orgasmic. As a woman, you get to have a much more loving and sensitive sexual relationship with your partner. You get to integrate spirituality and sex life. Boom. Into womb. Into womb. I mean, it's related. Nice Freudian slip. And then this opens up a huge gateway to go and discover so much more. For example, Tantra has like the most divine techniques and tools. So literally, you can see your penis as a rod of light, and you can see the woman's womb as a place of infinite divine potential. Yeah. So this is like the male and the female aspect of creation. And when you are visualizing your sex like this, and you bring them together in this sacred way, it's exquisite. Divine union. It's exquisite. Now Tantra is very clever because they have different names for the penis and vagina. They call them the lingam and the yoni, which is lovely because penis has so much charge to that word, so many negative words. Like, oh yeah, he's got his penis out. How big was this penis when you're looking at it? Whereas lingam is this really beautiful word, which is all about sacredness of what we're blessed with, and the vagina is the yoni, which is this sacred place of divine infinite potential.
So when you spoke about using this energy, if you were to use it in a against the rules of free will and such, that you get a big slap from the universe.
Yeah.
Do you have any personal experience with such slaps?
I do actually. I was told I had this aura transformation where my aura was renewed, like the old aura layers were stripped away, and it was changed to a one crystalline layer, which was incredible. I had it up in North London, and I got in a Uber, which is an hour back here, and I literally felt like I was 300 meters wide. And as I was driving along, I was literally trawling all the trauma of everybody, and I could, like, there would be someone 100 meters over there, and I could hear their conversation go, oh, he said that, and they said this, and I was literally, their trauma and their pain was like broken pieces of glass coming into me as I was going along. And I finally got here, sat in the garden, which is, there's no humans around my garden. And I was like, oh, I like this. It was amazing. And then since then I've been much more resilient and crystalline feeling. I feel like a living crystal now. And I was told that from now on, and it's true with anybody, this is true with anybody, your shit is your shit, their shit is their shit, yeah? There's a difference. Your shit is your shit. Everybody else's shit, that's their shit. And I was told that when somebody is projecting their negativity, their fear at you, there's two ways of dealing with it. One is to burn it out, one is to send it back to them. Now, both of those ways actually contradict free will, because when you're sending it back to them, and I've done this in the past, you're sending it, you're sending their energy back to them so they can learn a lesson. Maybe it's not their time to learn a lesson. Maybe they need to be this way so other people can learn a lesson and wake up. Yeah? This is their journey, it's not your journey. They haven't asked for your help.
Yeah.
So it's contradicting their free will. When you burn it out, it's the same. The energy that they sent out, the fear at you, might also be going to other people, and you're burning it out, and you're stopping a natural impulse from happening. Okay, this is
potentially preventing other people from learning lessons.
Yeah. So this is contradicting that. There's actually only one way. Right. Okay. So there's another level to this. So this is when you're thinking with your human mind. So there's actually another way. It's just literally duck out of the way of the energy. And this is not cowardly. This is just respecting free will and allowing the world to be as it is, because everyone has their own journeys. Everyone has their own lessons, and this is the way it is. You just literally duck out of the way and let the energy go over you. And I had such an interesting experience, because after that aura transformation, I started getting headaches, like that. They were like migraines, like piercing. It's like, oh, what is this? And then I'd think, what is this? It's not a headache. It's actually someone projecting some fear at me. And I could, if I asked my guidance, because I have a really clear spiritual guidance, I could find out who it was and what the problem they had at me was, and then I could send it back. Or so when my friend, who's super advanced with all these things, so sensitive, she told me about this disrespect of free will, and I was ducking out the way, then much better. By the way, we'll go on to these migraines in a sec. But then I realised that actually, so there's three ways there. There's burning it out, sending it back, or just ducking out the way. And I was just ducking out the way to respect free will. But as far as spirit's concerned, if you're asking spirit and using your intuition, and I mean you've got clear spiritual insight coming at you, then go with that, because then you're taking the responsibility out of the human domain, and it's now within the whole best situation for highest purpose for spirit.
Yeah.
The kind of I am place. So then if you ask Spirit what to do, sometimes they might ask you to burn it out or to send it back. In fact, they've never asked me to send it back. They've asked me to burn it out a couple of times, but 99% it's just let it go. So these migraines, I could find out who it was, like find out who is projecting these negative thoughts at me, and then if I just let the energy go through me, suddenly it would just like disappear. It's amazing, and that kind of, for me, that just said, yeah, this is correct. But then I've noticed that these other migraines have been coming in, these little headaches, like I might suddenly get a headache there or something here or something there, and it's like a tightness, like really like minute. And if I realise that these are actually downloads and transmissions coming in. So if I just relax and just am present with the pain and breathe into it, I can actually start feeling like it open up, and it's almost like this huge space opens up, and then information comes in. It's incredible, really cool.
So if somebody didn't know, felt these things, but did not know how to duck down, what is how could somebody duck down?
Well, just imagine that just imagine that you're in a field, someone is shouting at you, and you've dug a hole, and you just jump into the hole, and you can no longer hear it. It's going over your head. Easy peasy. With all of these energy things, just use the first metaphor that comes into your head, which seems like it will do the thing, because all of these metaphors actually do the trick. Energy follows the metaphors.
Yeah.
So when people have different techniques of doing the same thing, it's all the same at the end of the day.
It's still different sort of conditions.
Yeah. Life is just made up of symbols, metaphor. That's what it's built out of. So use it. That's why like all these old archetypes and fables are so powerful, because they're metaphors for some of our primal, what we're made of, our very being. And you can actually use these in order to be able to create alchemy and harmonize.
To go back to sexual alchemy for a moment.
Oh, Peter, I knew you'd go back there. There was that glint in your eyes. Oh, Mark, let's go back to sexual alchemy.
Theoretically, could it be possible if somebody was to de-armor and circulate the sexual energy to perhaps never ejaculate, to just continue circulating the sexual energy?
Yeah.
And what are the upper limits of that, if any?
There's no upper limits, but there's recommendations. So in the Taoist philosophy, if you're 20, I think you check this out online. It's better to go and check the hard proven facts. But, I think if you're up to 20, just ejaculate as much as you like with awareness. In your 40s, once every 2 weeks. 30s, I think once every week. In your 50s, once every month. I think it's something like that.
Right.
So they have recommendations, but actually some of the Taoist masters who are reportedly to be very old, like 150 or 200 years old, reportedly. Do you like the way how I'm putting all these words into, like, so it's like I'm like having a lawyer in your left hand here. They reportedly lived very long, and they only ejaculated once every 100 days. That was their way of doing it.
Right.
And with circulating energy, you can just allow your energy system to be fluid all the time. And like it's not necessarily about circulating it. It's more about allowing it to flow where it needs to be. Because maybe circulating is not what you need at this very moment. Maybe right now is you just need energy to go from your heart into your hands in order to have a certain outcome.
Right.
So I think it's just being free to allow whatever needs to happen can happen, by not imposing any limits on it. And this is the unlimited bit. Mm-hmm. It's like if we don't impose anything on it, it becomes unlimited, and anything is possible. Anything is possible.
But potentially one could not ejaculate for years and would reap higher benefits, or?
Yes, yeah. I think that the difference between ejaculating once a month and never is probably quite slight, very slight.
Right.
But the difference between ejaculating 4 times a day and once a week is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's no need to like get really like, I must never ejaculate.
Exactly.
As soon as you become, probably be another clinch.
This is it. As soon as you become serious about something, it means that you have created a limiting block, and that is fear. So if you're too serious about being vegan, too serious about meditating, too serious about mantras, it creates a
purity out.
It creates a box which you live in, and then the box is limited. You're not able to live an unlimited life. And this has just pissed off so many people. But I'm going to piss off loads of people because this is the truth. That life should be less. It should be when you're following a framework of something like religion, nutrition, body practices. If you are totally rigid with these things, it creates rigidity, and it creates limiting blocks which shut you in. If you follow the essence of it and you're in the flow, so this is all about being in the flow, is that you flow within the energy and essence of these things, then you will reap the best benefits. And if you have great intuition, then you will be told what you need at the time, and that might not necessarily be in the exact framework of what you're following. It might be slightly outside.
So, say somebody had shitty intuition and they're watching this and they want to learn how to develop their intuition or find out how to expand that intuition. What would be your advice?
Turn yourself into an antenna. Clear out your shit, clear out your limiting beliefs, programs, go and get some psychotherapy or find out some other ways of doing it. Go on an ISTA course or something similar to that. This is the International School of Tantra Arts, ISTA. This is a great way of clearing out all of that negative stuff in your body that's holding you back, all the shame. Turn yourself into an antenna and don't try, because it will just come to you. Whenever you're trying and you're pushing it, it ain't gonna work.
No.
All you do is have the intention that you're gonna clear things out, and you literally turn yourself into an antenna and you start picking things up. For me, it started happening on a yoga retreat out in Sicily. My friend Paolo, who is a shaman and a meditator, he was saying, he was doing a meditation, like a Tai Chi thing, where can you feel energy between your two hands? And I go, I can really feel it, like this. I could really feel like the magnetism. And then my hands started to move on their own like this. So, wow, look at that. It's incredible. And then later on I was playing with it, and it's like saying to my hands, well, if I asked them to do something, well, they go to my knee and my hand will go, and I went, like that. I was like, go to my foot, or go to my shoulder. And then I came back here and I was in the shower, and I thought, wow, if I'm having this kind of interaction, what about asking my hands to give me clothes if I get a yes? My hand went, and I went like this, and so much fear came up. I had to work through so much fear. I went to see some people about having possible bad, energy involvements. They said, no. All it turns out, it's a deeper part of me. So it's the conscious part of me which doesn't have all the trauma and the constructs. It doesn't actually understand all of the stuff that we go through here, because it's operating from a higher place where there is no judgment. Yeah. So if you ask the wrong questions, you get weird answers. If you ask the right questions, you always get the correct answer. And now I have a direct link. And since I've been opening up and clearing myself out, eating better, getting rid of things that are blocking out my energy, like pesticides and shitty foods, and like lowering my sugar intake, I've been becoming more and more sensitive to energy, whereas I can now just shut my eyes and I can fling off through different star systems, different dimensions of beings. I can talk to angels, I can talk to spirit guides, I can talk to Krishna, Jesus Christ, Babaji. I can talk to dead relatives. I can talk to masters. Anybody. I can interface with any energy. I can sense into the energy of a political system. I can go and sense into an energy of a friend with permission from soul, of their grief, which I've had and felt their unnumbed grief for everything that they've been through, which was a real blessing to be able to experience something so utterly horrific and tragic.
So do people ever come and ask you to give them like readings or such things?
No, but people do come and find me. People come and find me, and someone the other day said, "Oh, Mark, could I come around for something else? Could you have a look at this on my website?" And they came around, and then we went out for lunch, and then I could just see that they were totally that their alignment could be a lot better with what they wanted to attract into their life. So we just sat in the garden in the sunshine. We did this amazing manifesting meditation, going into the heart. We were working with Christ light, and then sending it through all possible future past pathways, and doing loads of like alchemy, and people come and find me. I have a feeling, Peter, that something huge is coming up, absolutely massive, but I don't know
for
what
the
it is.
collective or for yourself?
For the collective and for myself. There's huge shifts happening now for humanity, even though it looks like there's more chaos. There's huge shifts happening, but I have a feeling that something huge is coming up for myself. Because I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm in service, I've got loads to share. I don't know everything, and a lot of things I say probably people will disagree with wholeheartedly, and that's absolutely fine. But I still have a lot to share that may or may not be useful. And it's certainly been useful to me, and for myself, I'm living testament that you can enjoy your life, and like live a really wondrous life, like a kid and an adult, all super positioned into one being. And I literally feel like a crystal being, spirit walking on earth. That's what I feel like.
I feel that you have a lot to share, and that it's actually really valuable, and it's also very appropriate for the time we live in. It's appropriate for all times, really.
I really, really firmly believe that a lot of these spiritual approaches are great, but they're operating at places which just ignore some of that and then just focus on that. Yeah. I'm all about let's accept everything from torture and rape and wars and all the worst of what we are as a human race, and to alchemize it and transform it. I'm all about transformation and destruction of old things that don't need to be here anymore. Yeah. And I have special techniques that I'm using that I won't go into right now for that alchemy.
Should we wrap up here?
Yeah, I think it's a good place to wrap up.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. If anybody is interested in connecting with Mark, we might put a link down below. And if anybody has any questions for myself or Mark, perhaps we could meet up again and do another video like this, and maybe go through answering some questions, go into some other directions.
Yeah, I'd be really happy with that, Peter. Also, I'd just like to say I'm a music producer. Like, doing all this is not my real job. I'm a music producer, and I've got loads of lovely music. If you go to my website, www.marcjb, which is marcjb.com, you can find all my music there. I've been remixing people over the last years, about 89 number ones in the UK and US, and my music's all over television, all over the world. And I've got some really nice albums coming out at the moment, some beautiful high vibration albums that you'll really enjoy.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you.